Hey guys, welcome back to the Volt channel and today's ACS of the day. First, we are going to Google, we got to look up the ACS and what it is. All right, so if you go to Google and just FAA ACS, you'll find a link for the Airman Certification Standards. It'll bring you to this page and you'll see a couple of options here. You got airline, commercial, instrument, private pilot, remote. We're going to be focused on private pilot. So, as I said before, I'm not going to go and read this verbatim, word for word, all right? Because, again, as I said, if you are sincere about getting your private pilot, you are going to need to read and understand this information. When you're getting ready for your check ride, you're going to need to know the ACS and the applicable codes. All right, these here are all the tasks. As you can see, there's a lot of them. For all these tasks, there are subcategories, and for each subcategory, there's pages of information. Okay, so there's a lot to learn, as I said. It's nothing that's going to happen fast. You're going to have to put in the time and put in the work. All right, coming down to the table of contents. We are going to be going straight down the list, all right, starting with the pre-flight preparation. But all these items here are stuff that you're going to need to be proficient in when it comes time to take your check ride. As you can see, it's a long list, all right? We won't be learning multi-engine operations anytime soon, but just know that you'll need to go through that list and know this information. All these here, you'll need to read. When it comes down to the task, you can see the coding here. Let me come back. So Papa Alpha, X-Ray India, Alpha Kilo 1, all right? So Papa Alpha, applicable ACS, when we're talking about private pilot. X-Ray India, area of operation, night operations. Alpha, task night operations. Kilo 1, task element, knowledge 1, physiological aspects of vision related to night flying. So you can see how the task codes are broken up. And again, let's scroll back up so you can see this again. We have all these different tasks. All right, so it's a lot of information to learn. But we're just going to be breaking these up in short videos, going one by one, so that way, we can make it a little easier on trying to learn this information. So, starting with the pre-flight. We're just going to be focused on the knowledge portion, all right? The applicant demonstrates understanding of certification requirements, recent flight experience, record keeping, privileges and limitations, medical certificates, class expiration, privileges, temporary disqualifications, documents required to exercise private pilot privileges, and Part 68, BasicMed privileges and limitations. All right, each time we're just going to be focused on these knowledge portions. So next we need are the applicable FARs. So we can go back to Google. Again, if it's your first time, FAA, FAR, you'll see a link, FAA regulations. And again, if this is your first time on this page, that's fine, not a problem, okay? So what we're gonna do is go over to look up FARs. And then you're gonna see these first three blocks is what we're really gonna be focused on. That's where most of the information is going to be. But we're looking for right now Part 61. So if you click on 60 to 109, it'll take you here. Okay, Part 61 is what we are focused on now. Certification pilots, flight instructors, and ground instructors. And you'll also have Part 68. Now, if we go back to the ACS certification requirements, okay? So the first part that we're going to be looking at for certification requirements, you want to go back and go into Part 61 And as you can see, in Part 61, you have all these dots, all right, all these subsections of Part 61. And you're going to, again, need to know all this information. You don't need to know it right off the bat. As you see, you have different sections, all right? So take the time to look through it. But we're going to be, again, focused on the specific parts to the specific ACS standard, all right? But this, again, all the information you're going to need to look at. For now, certification dot 3, requirements for certification ratings. As you can see, again, a lot of information on this first category of the first task. All right, now we go back. We're looking at recent flight experience. So we go to the FARs, and we're going to dot 57. Part 61, dot 57. Recent flight experience, pilot in command. Okay, again, as you can see, a lot of information, right? So this is all stuff that you guys are going to need to learn and understand, all right? Moving forward, I won't be going through every single one. I will just go to the part and the section, okay? But just so you guys get an understanding how to get to it and what you're looking for. Record keeping. For record keeping, you want to go to dot 51, okay? Pilot logbooks. Again, lots of information to look at. All right, now these also will not be in exact order. For the next one, we're going to be looking at privileges and limitations. But as far as the regulations that you're going to be looking at, they're not exactly in the same order, or they're not, dot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that ideal order. So just understand you will be jumping back and forth. But next one we want to look at is dot 2, exercise of privilege. Okay. It's nice and short. It's nice to get a short one to read every once in a while, but that won't always be the case. Now, the next three that I'm going to look up, they are not specifically on here. They're before, actually, your medical certificates, or even some of your private privileges and limitations. However, they are important because you will be a student pilot before you become a private pilot. So there's some things that you just need to know and understand. So you have 61.83, eligibility requirements for student pilots. And you'll have 61.85, application, and 61.89, general limitations. Okay, so you want to take a look at those and just understand them and how they apply to you. Eventually, you'll get to your solo requirements. But again, if you're just starting out, you'll want to know these 61.83, .85, and .89. Now, private privileges and limitations. All right. Next, we're going over to medical certificates. We want to look at dot 23, medical certificates, requirement and duration. This task is documents required to exercise private pilot privileges. Now, these are a mix of two that you already looked at, which would be part 61.23, medical certificates, and another part that you've already looked at, which would be 61.3, requirement for certificates. Okay, as I said, there's a lot of information in those, so you'll just have to jump back and then really read them to understand. All right, documents required to exercise private pilot privileges. And lastly, part 68, BasicMed, privileges and limitations. Now for that, you're going to want to take a look at the whole part 68. Okay, so you have to go back out. We were in part 61. Now we want to go into Part 68. Okay, and you'll want to read all of these and touch up on those. All right. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. You want to read all of those to cover the Part 68 Basic Med privileges and limitations. And that is all for today's ACS of the day. All right, that was on pre-flight preparation. And the knowledge areas that we covered were the certification requirements, recent flight experience and record keeping, privileges and limitations, medical certificates, class, expiration, privileges, temporary disqualifications, documents required to exercise private pilot privileges, and Part 68 Basic Med privileges and limitations. Thank you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next ACS of the day.